What's up, YouTube? This is your boy John from Project Ellsworth, and I am back with you today to show you guys another section of my movie collection. Let's go. Alright, this week we are looking at row 2, section 2, which is this dude right here. I will get that pulled and show you what I got. As always, I hope everybody out there is doing well and staying safe. Alright, let's get to it. First up, we have a movie called Family Possessions. This is a movie that I grabbed at Dollar Tree for $1. Not Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree? Yeah, Dollar Tree for $1. I got my Dollar Trees and Dollar Generals confused there for a second. Alright, a young girl, Rachel Dunn, inherits the mansion of her estranged grandmother. Rachel and her family move into the house to start a new life, but once there, strange and unexplained occurrences begin to happen. Rachel uncovers a secret that has been hidden from her, and she soon realizes that some family secrets should remain buried. So, Family Possessions. I haven't seen this one yet. I think there's a whole lot of movies in this pile that I have not watched yet. There's a few that I have seen, but there's a whole lot in this one this week that I have not seen, and that's one of them. Alright, here's one I have seen. Next up is BluRay of Fantasy Island. This movie is fantastic. I did a review on this right after it came out on Blu-ray, well, probably a week or two after it came out on Blu-ray, and this was surprisingly good. I didn't know what to expect going into this movie, but I figured I'd give it a shot. We were in quarantine at this point, I believe. It was like towards the beginning of the quarantine. Wasn't a whole lot coming out, but there were still a few things trickling out, and this was one of those. Like I said, this was either right at the beginning of the quarantine, right before it, something like that, but I'm pretty sure I bought this at the beginning of it. So I'll put a link to my review of this movie in the comment section below. Check this movie out. You'll be surprised at how good this movie was. It's basically a group of people get selected to go to an island, Fantasy Island, to live out their fantasies. And what they believe their fantasies were have a twist, and they're not quite what they thought they were going to be. But yeah, it's great. Check it out. Really cool ending to it, too, if you are familiar at all with the old TV show from the early 80s. Alright, next up. Mark Wahlberg in Fear. This is another movie that was fantastic. Marky Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg and Reese Witherspoon. He is a psychotic boyfriend in this movie, and he is truly horrifying in this movie. This is still to this day one of my favorite performances that this guy's ever put on film. I thought this movie was great. He plays creepy really, really well, and it truly is terrifying. You check this movie out too if you haven't seen it. Fear is awesome. All right, next up is Fear Clinic. I know I haven't seen this. Robert Englund is in this. I couldn't remember who it was. It's Robert Englund. Fiona Dourif. I wonder if that is any relation to Brad. Corey Taylor and Thomas Dekker, Face Your Fears, Robert Englund in Fear Clinic. And that writing is really small. When trauma-induced phobias begin to re-emerge in 5 survivors a year after their horrifying tragedy, they return to the Fear Clinic, hoping to find the answers they need to get cured. Dr. Andover, a fear doctor who runs the clinic, uses his fear chamber to animate their fears in the form of terrifying hallucinations. Sounds like a great doctor, doesn't he? However, the good doctor soon began to suspect that something more sinister may be at work, something that yearns to be more than just a hallucination. The writing on this thing is like crazy tiny, and I'm half blind even with these glasses on. Based on the critically acclaimed and fan-favored 2019 Fearnet.com series, Fear Clinic also stars Fiona Dourif Slipknot and Stone Sour lead vocalist Corey Taylor and Thomas Dekker. So one of these days I'll check this out. That actually sounds pretty cool. And Robert Englund is in it, and he almost doesn't sound like such a bad dude in this movie. It's almost like he's a doctor and finds out bad stuff is going on. So one of these days I'll get to this. Chiller. Remember them, folks? Yeah, I was pretty pissed when that channel got taken off. I was actually pretty pissed at that channel when it was still on. There was always stuff on there that just was not quite horror, and they claimed to be a horror channel, but there was never like horror movies on it. It was very frustrating. Next up, we got a copy of Fear.com with a snap case. Don't see too many of these cases anymore. There's many of them in my collection, though. I've never watched this either, and I've heard very different takes on this movie. Let me see. A web of inescapable terror. Surfed any amazing websites lately? No, this is bad too. It's black rating. I can't. On like a dark background. Surfed any amazing websites lately? Once you log on, there's no turning back in Fear.com. A steadily amped up shocker directed by William Malone. A mad genius has created a live cam site that determines a person's deepest fear and then brings the fear to brutal life 48 hours later. Unless someone finds a way to cut off the site and its source. An investigating detective and a city health inspector know the danger of logging onto the site, but they are determined to solve the mystery. Wow, I'm having a really hard time seeing some of this. They think that they can endure the terror that awaits, but that's where they might be going dead wrong. Yeah. I don't know. One of these days, maybe. She looks kind of creepy. You never know. Maybe I'll get to that one, maybe I won't. I've had that thing for years, and I've never really had any desire to watch it after I've read and seen some of the reviews of that. Alright, next up is something called Fear the Dark. Got that at the DVD store or movie rental store when it was going out of business. Don't know anything about this at all. Each night, Ryan lies awake watching as the evil in the darkness grows stronger. Big brother Dale sees this as an attention-getting antic. Trapped alone in the house during a violent night storm, Dale quickly realizes little Ryan has every reason to be afraid. In the tradition of The Ring and The Sixth Sense, Fear of the Dark is a tightly woven tale that taps into our universal fear of what lies hidden in the dark. It's what scares you the most. It doesn't sound bad. It's worded, it almost makes me feel like this could be an anthology. But I've never seen it, and I really don't know much about it. The best movie of its kind since The Sixth Sense. It's pretty bold. So, maybe I'll check that out. Alright, next up is complete Season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead. I was much more into this show when it started. And I kind of lost interest in this. I lost track of it. I never bought any more of these. I did watch a couple more seasons after this. My wife kept watching it, and she was definitely more into this show than I was. I just wasn't real crazy about this. I didn't think it was nearly as good as The Walking Dead was, the flagship series. I don't know. I got mixed feelings about Fear the Walking Dead. Morgan's on there now, so that's kind of a bonus. I think the White is too. If you don't watch The Walking Dead, you have no idea who I'm talking about. Alright, next up is Feast. I did watch this movie. This was actually really, really cool. An incredible horror extravaganza. I like this flick. I believe, if I remember correctly, these guys are all hanging out in a bar, and all of a sudden these monsters come and they just start killing everybody. Is Jason Mewes in this flick? I think Jason Mewes is in this. I don't remember. Jason Mewes and maybe Henry Rollins. Yep, there's Henry Rollins and Jason Mewes. Yep, they're both in it. Henry Rollins and Jason Mewes. This is pretty cool. You should check this one out sometime. It's a pretty cool flick. the second one, Feast 2. This one is very different than the first one was. I wasn't real crazy about this one. I remember being not so nuts about the way it was shot, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly what the setting of this was, but I remember just not really caring about this. And I was excited to see this one after I saw the first one. I bought the first one right after it came out. At the time, I was getting subscriptions to Rue Morgue and Fangoria, and I believe that there was an article in there about Feast. I bought it as soon as it came out, loved it, and then I bought this as soon as it came out and did not love it. From the writer-director of Feast comes the next chapter in the new classic horror series. It's the morning after the initial attack, and the nasty flesh-eating monsters are invading the nearby town. Those lucky enough to have survived the night join the twisted group of locals whose only goal is to stay alive, no matter the cost. Featuring a motley group of characters, including the all-girl biker gang and a tag team of ass-kicking Mexican wrestlers. These 2 sloppy seconds serves up twice the blood, twice the body parts, and twice the fun. I remember this being twice the disappointment. Alright, and next up is Feast 3, which I've never watched. I know I've never watched this. What's even better than sloppy seconds? Feast 3, The Happy Finish, marks the return of the original film's director and writer, and the third course in this blood-gushing, mutant-thrashing, stomach-churning comic horror series. The man-eating monsters are still hungry, and what's left of the human survivors, including Biker Queen, Bartender, and Lightning the Wrestler, are running out of luck. That is until hope arrives in the form of a knife-wielding karate kid and the mysterious man who seems to be able to control the beasts. This already doesn't sound good. Loaded with horrors that will haunt your dreams, Feast 3, The Happy Finish, is non-stop, gross-out action with the mother of all endings. Well, see, now that's got me curious. I don't know if it's curious enough for me to pull that off my shelf and watch it anytime soon, but that sounds kind of interesting. Next up is a movie called Fido. This one hasn't even been unwrapped. I know I didn't buy this. I think my wife brought this home from somewhere. I know nothing about this either. One has to assume that the guy with the dog collar on would be Fido. But it shows that this is... Oh, Christ, he's mowing the lawn. Yeah, I'm not so sure. I would not have bought this movie on my own, I don't think. It seems kind of silly, but he seems like a zombie, so you never know. I may have, but I know I didn't buy this. I'm pretty sure Janae bought this and brought this home. One of these days I'll get to it. There's a zombie cutting the grass, and it's a comedy. That's all you need to know. The story is, I can tell you without even reading it, this guy is either a friend or a neighbor or the father or the grandfather or something. He somehow gets infected. They don't want to kill him, so they keep him, and he is now like the family dog. I'm not reading that. I bet you that that's probably what that's about. All right, next up is the Final Destination franchise. I don't know if I have the first 5 movies, and I don't know if there is a 6th movie. I don't think that there is, but I'm not absolutely positive. I was kind of late to the party for this. I think that it was Final Destination 3. Yeah, Final Destination 3 is when I first started getting into these. When that movie was getting ready to be released in the movie theater, I saw the trailer, thought it looked cool, so I went out and bought the first 2 Final Destination movies. And then Janae and I, when we were actually dating before we got married, went and saw Final Destination 3, and then I bought 4 and 5 as they came out. I think we saw 3 and 5 in the movie theater, but I'm not exactly positive. Those are cool movies. I just think that they're really good. It's a really good idea. The earlier movies I thought were, well, better. I think the first 2 movies were really, really good. The 3rd movie I remember being decent, and to be honest with you, I don't remember the 4th movie. I know I watched it, but I don't remember it, and I don't think I've ever watched the 5th movie. But those are pretty cool. The Final Destination series is pretty neat. It's pretty legendary, very well known, and for good reason. They're good movies. Next up is Final Girl. I don't remember if I watched this one or not either. Every night, four boys trick a young girl. Every night? Yeah. Every night, four boys trick a young blonde girl into meeting them in the forest for a date with the intention to hunt and kill her. One night, Veronica is selected, and when the hunt begins, the boys soon realize that they messed up with the wrong girl. Or excuse me, they messed with the wrong girl. Meaning that they messed up. I don't remember if I watched this or not. That sounds very familiar. It looks very familiar. I actually remember buying this at Dollar Tree for $1, and I can't remember if I watched it or not. So, if I did, it clearly didn't leave much of an impression on me. But I can't remember for certain whether I watched it or not. This one I know I did not watch. This is also a $1 buy at Dollar Tree. It is The Final Girls. And I don't believe it has anything to do with the movie I just read the back of. I think this is more of a comedy. Let me see. A love letter to 80s slasher film, The Final Girls is delightfully devilish. I think this is more of a comedy. Yeah, hilarious. There's a good dead giveaway that it's a comedy. So I'm not even going to bother reading all that. Typical horror comedy, probably a handful of good-looking girls with, scantily clad, barely dressed, partying in the woods, and that guy's trying to kill them. That's probably what that movie is. All right, next up is Firestarter, Stephen King's Firestarter. They just put out, well, I don't think they just put out, but I know Walmart just recently started carrying a Scream Factory edition of this. And I was just asking the guys on Saturday night if they had, on our H&S Collectibles live stream, coast to coast horror stream on H&S Collectibles YouTube channel, if those guys had picked up that Scream Factory edition of this movie, and they had not. Suspense hits home in the thriller Firestarter 2 movie collection. Firestarter and Firestarter 2 Rekindled chronicle the extraordinary life of Charlene McGee, whose paranormal abilities to start fires with her mind has her on the run from the clandestine government agency known as The Shop. Filled with awe-inspiring special effects and starring some of Hollywood's most popular actors, Drew Barrymore, Martin Sheen, George C. Scott, Dennis Hopper, and Malcolm McDowell, this collector's set is a must-own for any fan of the supernatural. So yeah, I'm going to go out and pick up the Scream Factory edition of Firestarter the next time I see it. I think it was Ben from Cadaver Club said that you should just pick it up on principle if you see a Scream Factory movie at Walmart. So I agree with him. I think I'm going to go buy it. And the last movie this week is The First Power. The last movie is The First Power. This was actually really cool. I remember seeing this many years ago. Lou Diamond Phillips, if I remember correctly, is a cop, and he's looking for this dude who is a serial killer. But I can't remember exactly what it is. It has been a long time since I've seen this movie. How do you stop a killer with immortal powers? There you go. He's a serial killer, and he's got some sort of immortal powers. Lou Diamond Phillips stars as hotshot LA homicide detective caught in a harrowing game with a man who lives to kill and cannot die in this psychological thriller that transcends mortal terror. Alright, yeah, I remember this movie being really awesome. I remember thoroughly enjoying this movie. This is one I really do want to go back and revisit because it's a great movie, and I know it's a great movie. So, one of these days. Got some time off coming. I got so much stuff I gotta watch. I'm going to get out of here for today. Today's my son's birthday. Everybody wish my son a happy 13th birthday. I'm going to take him out today. We're going to go have a good time. That's why I'm up so early doing this. So, if you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and you have been enjoying my content up to this point, please do me a huge personal favor and click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a kick-ass day. And thank you for watching. Later, folks.